Hello, welcome to another edition of If You Asked Jimmy. My name is Jimmy, and I speak on topical issues that can help us to learn, to grow, and to live better in a complex and rapidly changing world. Today, I'll be speaking on A Tale of Two Sons, A Tale of Two SANs. I draw a parallel of that title from the book A Tale of Two Cities, which is a historical book that was published by Charles Dickens in 1859. I'll start with a quote from that book. It says, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness." It continues like that. I'll stop it there. We are in the best of times, technology, AI, everything, and we are in the worst of times, society, decadence, and everything. It's the age of wisdom, and it's also the age of foolishness. A Tale of Two SANs, Afe Babalola versus Dele Farotimi, Femi Falana versus VDM. What are the lessons to learn for us? Because we need to be able to learn lessons from real life reality different from social media perception. Because perception is also a reality on its own. They say perception is reality and perception is new reality. We're going to do some analysis to see what happened between Chief Afe Babalola and Dele Farotimi. Afe Babalola, SAN is a son. Afe Babalola, SAN is a son. That's another phrase. SAN is a son. Femi Falana, SAN is also a son. He's a lawyer. They are eminent lawyers. A Tale of Two Sons, Afe Babalola and Falana, just brings this question to my mind. What should Barrister Femi Falana have done in the case of VDM and Bobrisky, and what should Afe Babalola have done? And what do Nigerians really want? In the past, relatively speaking, we have actresses, two of them, who got VDM arrested or induced his arrest one way or the other. They are not even lawyers. They are not SANs, but they were able to, I think they were involved with him in a way that got him, incarcerated. But Baba Falana is a son. Baba Afe Babalola is a son. What happened in Falana's case was that Falana was able to choose a very honorable way out. Even when the whole of social media was shouting, "Crucify him," when the whole of the table was turned against him and the ovation was loud in the negative, he did two very important things, very remarkable things which people might not have noticed. First, he approached the matter legally, according to the law. Before he sued the guy in question, he gave him a chance to retract his statements, but the young man did a kind of, he gave some kind of apology, but there's something that is said that a stiff apology is a second insult. So it looks like the apology didn't come through well, so Falana had to go to court. Then, before going to court, he came to the public media to speak. Baba Falana granted interviews and chronicled the history of his activism and how he had been defending the masses, how he had been defending the weak and the innocent in the public domain for so long. He had even defended his accuser, this current accuser, in the past. But he chose a very, very modest and humble way out. He was very, very strategic. He showed tact and self-control in the face of a life-damaging wave of public opinion. Somebody that was being vilified and misunderstood, being crucified in the court of public opinion, because the issue was between him and what Yoruba will call Eni Ayenfe. And Yoruba says Eni Ayenfe ki larun kan lara, Eni Ayenfe ki ṣàṣìṣe. When I was growing, I'm still growing. Also in my high school days, those streets, all this, I lived in the city, so they used to play some music that will come to you wherever you are. There's one Apala singer that time, I don't know whether it is Aina Mowura or Yusuf Olatunji. He sang a song. He says, "Ẹni ayé ń fẹ́ kì í lárùn kan lára, adé tólú adé fún wa, kò ní sí lórí wa, á wà bẹ́ẹ̀ títí láéláé." Ẹni táyé bá fẹ́ kì í lárùn lára. That is, whoever is being loved by people can do no wrong. And it makes, VDM at that time to look like a victim. Everybody was speaking. Yoruba says he was falenu. And one of falenu, one leje. They make VDM to look like a victim. But VDM is a very strong guy. He could stand up for himself. But people, the uproar, the hula baloo was so much, and he got a lot of social media currency. He got a lot of equity from that. In this day and age, it appears that people are not reasoning, balanced reasoning. Okay, they just support their fans. People love sensation. There's also the issue of, is it Burna Boy and Speed Darlington? That one is still on. I think the arrest has happened like a couple of times right now. Some of these things should not even be happening in the first place if people are just minding their business and they just don't go out of their way to just be, slandering people and defaming them. When Burna Boy arrested, got the, what is this guy, Speed Darlington arrested, people say, why don't you take him to court? Why use police to arrest him? Femi Falana did not arrest VDM. They told Burna Boy it's an abuse of the police and the law enforcement system. Of course, nobody supported what Speed Darlington said. Everybody thinks that he went overboard. But, Falana stood humbly. And people berate the police for getting involved in civil matters, in things that should have been handled by the individuals by suing one another to court. So, let me still stay on this case of the Falana and VDM. In the case of Bobrisky, VDM, a very great guy, doing amazing things. People love him. He's a voice. And people love him for being a voice and for rising up and standing in the defense of the weak and oppressed and spending his money without charging people. He's always fighting for the cause of the masses and looking for ways to benefit people. He even has an NGO. I give kudos to him. Great guy. What people need to realize is that VDM's truth is not the only truth. And VDM is not infallible, because no human being is perfect. He cannot be perfect on every occasion or on all occasions, but is right most times, but not all the time. Only God has the power or the attribute of perfection. But this do no wrong view that most people are making out of him may not help him in the long run, because he is doing a great work. He has, he has a great work that he's doing for society. Is the defender of the masses and is actually a benefactor of many. But in data analysis or data-driven decision making or statistics generally, there is a principle that correlation does not imply causation. When people come to the public, they grandstand, love sensationalism, start scandalizing others just because one person says something that has not been verified. For a community that feeds on gossip and character assassination, whatever someone says that, is usually like the underdog and like David and Goliath thing. People fail to demonstrate critical thinking. They just follow the trend, they jump on the trail, and usually the person that is seen to be, the bigger suffers for it. Are we just knowing how things happen in Nigeria? In that Bobrisky case, it's almost related now, kind of, but it will stay in our psyche for long. Are we just knowing that things happen, things go on in the prisons? But to take the word of mouth of someone like Bob, a serial liar, whose stock in trade is bragging, a person who lives fake life, a person whose maxim is fake it till you make it, a person with a high quotient of nuisance value to himself and to the community, to swallow the innuendos of his words, line, hook, and sinker, and to use that to devour other personalities, people who have built hard-earned reputation. Do people even reason at all? There's something that is called name dropping. Name dropping. I will explain it as I go on here. Fallacious attributions. Yes, it's an audio. Does it mean that this guy said something and everything he said is valid, even though he mentioned names? This is a guy that can even use lies as currency. There is activism, but there's also reason and fairness. Herd mentality is wrong mentality. Yoruba will say that we cannot all sleep and we have our head just facing one direction. That means the whole of the public cannot be one-way traffic. That's why in law it said that it's better for 1,000 sinners to escape punishment than for one innocent person to be punished unfairly. I watched by at that time. I was busy with something else and I needed to finish that project. I was doing my MBA at that time and I wasn't ready for media because I know this media thing will be very involving, so I couldn't add my voice. Perception is king. Reputation is currency. Reputation is an asset. It is to be treasured above all things. In Yoruba, they say reputation is to be treasured more than silver or gold. I don't know what this generation makes of people's of good names, of reputation, credibility, integrity, personality. Let's continue in this analysis. We have what happened between Pastor Femi Falana at that time. As grievous as it was, the man did not invoke his influence with the police. He has a relationship with the IG. I heard him talking not too long ago, and he was explaining some things that he was having direct communication with the IG. It's not so special. There are many people who knows the IG, and as a son, definitely, I mean, the IG didn't drop from heaven. He passed through the system, and their paths must have crossed. But he knows the IG very well. Bobrisky ended up being a national embarrassment and bringing shame even to the people in the House of Assembly or wherever he was being interviewed. He brought to light some things that are in the back end and all those corruption and favoritism and preferential treatment that were happening in those places. But that should not be at the expense of somebody who has a right to defend himself. Allegation is different from fact. I wouldn't have noticed or mentioned the real Ekweda or the Odada himself who started the controversy, but this video would not have been complete without it. Do you know what dictionary defines name dropping as? Because all that happened in that case was names dropping. Name dropping is defined as the act of talking about famous people that you have not met, about pretending that you know people better than you really do in order to appear more important and special. It eventually ended up that because a name was mentioned, that stands as an indictment of a man who still came to public domain to explain his own part. Why should people swallow everything that someone of a queer character like Bob say in public, a serial liar who does not have the word shame in his dictionary? Someone who has no shame and can alter his own gender or personality. Do commentators in the public space understand what defamation means? I'm going somewhere. You know, we are on a tale of two sons. So I'm on the case of Pastor Femi Falana now. You can see how everything ended. Bob proved or pretended to be bigger than the system because he has a godfather factor or wherever. Do you notice how Barrister Falana responded in the heat of that hula baloo? He maintained his calm. He stated his position calmly. I saw him on Sahara TV. I saw him also on channels and other news channels, Arise and other places. He maintained his calm. He stated his position in defense of himself and that of his son meticulously, and he backed them up with facts. He kept silent. He kept silent while the case was in court. Ever since. That is following the rule of law. He showed experience. He showed decorum as a lawyer. That is tact. People forget what the learned Silk has been, who he has been all his life. He is a dogged fighter and resilient person. Since the late 70s, with people like Fela, they had been in the trenches. It's not this 2024 social media space. He fought physical battles. He went to prison. He fought battles with both civilians and military institutions. But in the face of provocation, he did something reasonable. He chose his battle. Now, let's compare that to what Chief Afe Babalola did before suing Barrister Dele Farotimi. First, I need to say how much I really I like the person of Dele Farotimi. Before Afe Babalola just brought him to the fore again and shot by shooting himself in the leg. whatever Dele Farotimi was alleged to have said, people didn't say that Baba Afe Babalola shouldn't take action, but they said, Baba, you can't take laws into your own hands. You can't get someone arrested in a civil case, even though the aspect of this defamation issue being criminal or civil under the Nigerian law is still in a kind of debate right now, because there's a contrary opinion on it. Baba has a right to defend himself. Some people are saying it's criminal, some people are saying it's civil, but no one has the right to instigate the instruments of law enforcement against a fellow citizen. To arrest a person from another state and transport him to the home state of the accuser. Nobody is saying the eminent jurist, Chief Afe Babalola, should not defend himself and protect his hard-earned reputation and legacy, both locally and internationally. By all means, he needs to protect his reputation. But what irked people, what angered them, what triggered them was the aspect of getting Dele Farotimi arrested in the manner in which he did, in the manner that that arrest was carried out, and how that guy was transported over several hours to Ekiti. Now, back to what I said earlier, there is the real court and there's the court of public opinion. And there are two aspects to issues in public domain. The first one is facts, and the second one is sentiments. Again, everybody agrees that Baba Afe Babalola shouldn't have done that, no matter his grievances. But again, life is not black and white. But life is black, white, and every shade of gray in between. But wrong is wrong, and right is right. For Baba Afe Babalola, whatever his grievances were, which is legit, because whatever is being indicted or whatever is being accused or alleged to have done by Dele Farotimi, I said I like Dele the other time. I didn't tell you why. There is one thing okay, let me slow down. There's one book he wrote. I love the title, even though I've not read the book. And it's a quote that I love to share here. Is that the title of the book is Do Not Die in Their War. I love that, because when I see how people behave, how the Nigerians, they just get sucked in by all our politicians and influential people and all the celebrities, and when you see how these people are so cozy-dovey, lovey-dovey privately, these politicians they are a class. There's a political class, there's elite class, there's the class of the aristocrats as well. So I love the title of that book, Do Not Die in Their War. Whatever the case is, you can see how Chief Afe Babalola approached the case because of his grievances, and compare that with how Barrister Femi Falana addressed his grievances. What that's just telling us is that everybody has a right to justice. Everybody has a right to deal with their grievances in the public space. But there's fundamental human rights that shouldn't be trampled upon. It is the right of, they say where one person's rights ends is where another person's right starts. And everyone has a, there's a way they put it, that there's freedom of speech, but freedom after speech may not be guaranteed. Everyone has an opinion, but no one has a right to the wrong opinion. So to sum it up, it's a case of two SANs here, because if it had been ordinary people who were not legal luminaries, who are not learned, people will say, okay, probably they don't know. But ignorance, even for people who are not learned in the courts, I don't know why lawyers do that, because we they learn, we go primary school. When they attribute this, they are learning to themselves. Well, that's just a joke. Even people who are not wearing wigs, who are not, trained as lawyers, at least there are some basic things that we should know as we are parts and members of a bigger society. So, two things. A son decided to approach the matter legally. I asked a question earlier, what do Nigerians really want? When Barrister Falana went to court, people be like, oh, why is this here? You should just have, not do that. it was crazy. I pitied the man, honestly. He sued him. Oh, the hula baloo was much. Everybody was against him. They were, you know, as if, I mean, people were they were trying to unearth things that probably exist. I'm not saying Barrister Falana is right. I'm only saying that just within the same year, people began to see the, would I say, the beauty of the beauty of a democratic society, of a society, that someone was angered. He had grievances and he took it to court. See people shouting, why did he take it to court? The same people are shouting. They're shouting, why did Baba go? Of course, it's wrong to arrest that, except if Farotimi was invited to court. It's only the court that can issue an arrest warrant that they should go and get him in case he doesn't show up for a hearing or whatever. But just a few months ago, it was wrong in the eyes of the general public, in the eyes of the online media and the general society. That Barrister Falana, he took the step he took. I'm not validating the step, but what should he have done? When you now compare that with what happened with Farotimi and Baba Afe Babalola in this case, you can see that you will leave the court to decide. I think probably what people are saying is that he should not have even taken the matter to court at all. He should just have let it slide. Yoruba will say, that is, if someone dies, you don't care about it. They say someone dies, maybe a young person dies, which is just, you know, something not, I mean, it's not good. You might not see anything wrong with it. You might not see it as an issue. But if it happens to you, that's when you feel it. And we want an egalitarian society. See what Burna Boy did? In one breath, people are saying, no, Darlington shouldn't have said this. Burna Boy, you should have also arrested him. Guys, I will rest this here. I just wanted us to see this parallel as a society. And I just hope that we are able to draw a lesson from this so that nobody's right is trampled upon. Barrister Farotimi has been released on bail and the case is already in court. We'll see as the matters unfold, because all these things are for our learning. Even as lawyers, they do have what is called the Nigerian Weekly Law Reports. They do have, you know, all the judgments of the courts published. It's just for the future. They are reference materials. There's what is called judicial precedents. Even when lawyers are arguing cases, they look at how matters were decided that were brought to the court, and they use that to draw, you know, what should be, apart from what the Constitution states, they use it to draw the standards and the code of conduct and ethics in the society. So thank you for joining this one, and thank you for going ahead to subscribe to my channel and to like this video. We'll continue the conversation on the next one. Thank you.